Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Gunny Jesse, your senior enlisted advisor to the Emperor at Rules of Engagement Games in Havelock, North Carolina. You're in the salt mines. Alright, so Devin, you see the articles about, is Armada dead?
Yes, quite a bit actually, and I've seen many other people talking about, well, what's happening with Armada. We have everything coming out for X-Wing, for Legion. Like, they're coming out with stuff with Legion left and right, but still no news on Armada. And then with new X-Wing content coming out too, they're revamping it all, bringing it up to 2.0. And we still haven't had any news on Armada for quite a few months now.
302 days, I think, and counting.
Yeah, no one's counting though, right? No.
So it's depressing. Yeah, I know. We really need to hear some things from Armada. We really need some news. Just something. We don't care. Just let us know. This is still a thing.
Something other than something is
something
coming.
Big is coming.
Yes.
Something
because
big.
That can be interpreted in many different ways. Although at the same time, Armada is not in a bad place, as we were discussing the other day.
Yeah, I think, especially how fluid everything is. There's no dominant meta. Everything can beat everything, which can just beat everything, and nothing really dominates. You don't have the same list 10 times over at the highest level championships, so it's a good place. Game's in a really good place. I really hope it's not dead, and I really don't think it's dead, because, I think FFG is not as big as the companies people make it out to be, and with all the new stuff, Legion, X-Wing 2.0, I think they're just swamped. And right now, because Armada's in a good place, I think it's something they can put on the back burner and not really worry too much about.
Which makes sense, because at the rate at which Armada stuff comes out, I think when it does come out, the product itself is really well designed and polished, and it's not something that's like broken on release. It's like they take a lot of time with their playtesting, I feel, with this, as opposed to some things when they come out, like for X-Wing, for example, you can be like, oh, okay, this ship is like the greatest thing since sliced bread, or it hits the fan and dies. Whereas Armada, it's something that just like seamlessly goes into the game, and
it's either broken or it's garbage.
Yeah, exactly. Like for Armada, I feel like it's something that once it's introduced into the game, it feels like it was meant to be there, with the game as a whole. Or what it does add, it doesn't take away from what's already there.
Yeah, things get fleshed out over time, and new combos come up, and it's people figure things out. And I think that keeps keeping the game in a good state, because they don't need to release anything. But we really want something. If we don't hear something by Gen Con, it's probably going to be Torches and Pitchfork time.
Definitely. I think a lot of people are expecting a lot of big reveals at Gen Con, whether it's new factions, Super Star Destroyers. I mean, at this point, anything would be welcome news.
Yeah, I'd be happy with either. I mean, bring out the Executor. I'll buy it. I will. I probably won't use it if it's, because it's going to have to be something that goes by epic rules like they did in X-Wing, and it's going to be not a standard game format, but just to, have it on the shelf.
Right,
look at it.
More of like a special kind of niche, like gaming game mode, like kind of like how Epic was. It was a nice thing to have. It added a lot of great things to X-Wing, but at the same time, that's not something that was very common to see. It wasn't like every other week we were like, oh hey, let's bust out our Sea Rocks and our Rebel transports and everything like that, because those games were long and tiresome, and although they were fun at times, it was just not something that the average player could justify buying, just because not only the price difference, but the rules difference and the time. And like X-Wing is meant to be a game that's played over like 30 or 45 minutes, when Epic games could go on for a couple hours at a time, depending on how you set it up. So that along with the cost might have driven some people away for, they wanted a bit more of a casual game, with something that doesn't take as long.
Yeah, I could, I would buy it, but that's because I own a game store.
True, and I would buy it because Super Star Destroyer. Okay. What other reason do you need?
But I would also like to see more factions. That'd be nice. That get more variety going on.
True. With
whether either way they can go prequels. They can go sequel trilogy. Either way, I still buy it. I think the most broken thing in X-Wing 1.0 was
So digging a little bit deeper here into our assault mines, I think definitely the Jumpmaster, when it first came out, a lot of people felt that that was very broken. So let's talk about the contracted scout a little bit.
Generic, cheap, EPT slot, ridiculously good maneuver dial. Yeah, it was definitely not, I would say, not play tested very well. I don't know. I think that'd be accurate.
Probably. I think they a little bit, they underestimated its potency when it came to what the ship could bring to the table as far as just being, you know, once you have your generic pilots, you dig a little bit deeper into, okay, so this is what the ship is meant to do, you know, basically. So like generic TIE fighters, for instance, I know you love your TIE swarms. TIE fighters are there to just be a presence of, like, say, 8 TIE fighters on the table, just swarm your opponent, and it's pretty much all they're there for. They're basically cannon fodder, but they do their job very well. So as opposed to the contracted scout, I feel like you could put a whole bunch of different loadouts on this thing and make it viable in a couple different roles, not just say, hey, this is a TIE fighter and this is what it's meant to do. You know, you can't really do too much with basic, like, academy pilot, right? Whereas contracted scout, you have way more options in that regard.
Yeah, TIE Swarm is definitely the most powerful list in the game, and it will be forever and ever, even in 2.0. It can beat anything, even the most broken meta. TIE Swarm can beat it.
At the same time, though, so going along with broken meta, what else, in your opinion, do you think when it came out and hit the table, would you consider something that was meta breaking?
Nothing got as bad as the contracted scout, Jumpmaster 5. Jumpmaster, it just, you know, on release it was bad, but Protector came out, and I think it gained a lot of popularity and a lot of ground. The Protector Starfighter, Mandalorians, everybody loves Mandalorians. I think that was pretty broken coming right out the gate. But I don't think it was to the point that the contracted scout was, because it still had its drawbacks. You really had to get it into people's face and risk your ships that were pretty fragile, that once they did start taking damage, they didn't last very long.
True. At the same time, I don't feel like it was necessarily a broken thing with Scum, because I feel like with Scum, it's either once it hit the table, it was like the greatest thing for that faction, or it was just, why do we have this? You know, Scum went back and forth a lot of times with a lot of their releases. I feel it wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't say a balance issue, but sort of more of like the playability as a faction. Your ship was either viable or it wasn't in terms of meta. And yes, it's true that you can bring ships where you can win tournaments with, you know, your Skix or something like that, but at the same time it wouldn't measure up to, you know, tried and true builds that, let's say, the Rebels or your Empire would have.
Having the Protector, you still had to fly it. You still had to fly it, whereas the contracted scout, you just kind of trundled it around the table. You didn't really have to worry about arcs. You didn't have to worry about,
because it's a turret.
Yeah, turret primary weapon, even though it was a weak turret primary weapon. But now throwing things like Deadeye on them, which they got nerfed and said couldn't put it on large ships anymore, making it so you didn't have to select a target when you were going to unload your torpedoes. But, you know, still.
True.
Yeah, you didn't require a lot of thinking. It was kind of like, along the lines of the old list that people think are really broken, like Thug Life, having 4 Y-Wings all with TLT. You don't really have to think about it. Or running the Hangover, 2 Decimators. Your ability to fly does not change the outcome of the game whatsoever.
True, and at the same time, I think that kind of eliminates the whole purpose of what the spirit of the game is supposed to be, which, you know, when you take X-Wing and you look at it, this is supposed to be dogfighting, right? And the primary thing for your dogfighting is how well you fly, not, you know, always how you can just, okay, well, I bring this and it automatically does this. You know, that's what I feel the game turned into over a period of time. So one of the things I thought was, you could argue that it was broken or unfair, but for a time was Nim Miranda. You know, the list, you have Captain Nim, then you have your Miranda and a K-Wing. So obviously you have TLT on your Miranda. Miranda, obviously her pilot ability, she gains shields back. So if you look at just that ship, you're having something that does automatic, like guaranteed damage if you met the qualifications, you know, which wasn't that hard to do. And then at the same time, it can just regen health for free, essentially. So something that automatically hits, does damage most of the time, and regenerates its own hull is something that can be very frustrating to play against. It's basically, hey, this gets free kills and it heals itself. What are you going to do about this, you know?
It's definitely, I wouldn't say that was that broken, but yeah, it did seem to fill out the meta a lot.
And then,
I think where the TIE Swarm doesn't hit the top meta because one, it bleeds victory points, your match points. You're losing TIE fighters because that's what they do. They die. You put them out there, you die. So when it comes out that you may be undefeated, but you don't have a lot of high margin of victory points. So when it comes to the final cut, you tend to get left out. Also, when you're playing 6, 7, 8 games in a day and you're flying 7 or 8 TIE fighters, after about the third one, you're done. You start just flying your TIE fighters off the table just because you're sick of managing all of them and keeping them from crashing into each other. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your all time. Thank you for watching the Salt Mines. Jesse, your Senior Enlist Advisor to the Emperor.
and Devin Lahardy.
And this is Rules of Engagement Games, 19 Park Lane, Havelock, North Carolina. Please come visit us. Also, you can check out our Facebook page. Search at Rules of Engagement Games, all one word on Facebook. It'll come up.
Or check out Enter the Gamer Actual on YouTube and Twitch.